had a good time. And then, yeah, we've got one of our developers, the Dev Connect event. So, yeah, yeah,
Nice.
people want to go travel and go to events.
Yeah, I don't blame them, right? Everyone's been locked up for God knows how long, right? So all
Yeah,
these
definitely.
conferences spinning up, and yeah, it's nice to like connect with people face to face instead of over Discord and Telegram, etc. All right, we've got a nice crowd. It's been a while since we've run a Discord sort of session. Normally we kind of transitioned over to Twitter Spaces, and that's become more of a normal thing. But it's good to get back to Discord. So let's should we kick off?
Yeah, let's do it.
Nice. Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks everyone for joining and listening in today. We've got Derek from Futureswap, and yeah, we're going to basically just do a kind of a high level rundown of what Futureswap is, and talk about their recent or very soon their deployment onto Avalanche and kind of what that means for the ecosystem and stuff. So, yeah, Derek, great to have you here. Thanks for taking the time today. Should we just maybe you just want to start off by kind of introducing yourself?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, first off. Yeah, I'm Derek. I am one of the leads at Futureswap Protocol, and we are essentially we focus on leverage trading, decentralized, non-custodial leverage trading. We started about 2 years ago on Ethereum, and we've been sort of expanding since. And really, the narrative has shifted from just pure perpetuals to something that's more integrated with the rest of DeFi and creating more bridges for adding value to like different projects such as Trader Joe's or different you know tokens of protocols. They have pairs, and really trying to be aligned and create value for the protocol themselves and the token holders. So that's where we've really shifted. It's been a huge shift away from pure perpetuals to what we have now. It's been definitely a journey and tricky at times, but we think we've got the right system now to really expand from there.
Nice. So a few things there. You mentioned you actually started off on Ethereum. Why did I think Arbitrum?
Well, we did. We also went to Arbitrum after, so we launched on Ethereum in like 2020. So we were the first perpetual um, available on Ethereum. So it was really the only place you could do perpetuals on FutureSwap, and it was quite exciting. And then, I mean, gas costs just got so crazy expensive that we were waiting for another solution. People were paying like $2,000 just in gas to open a trade. Imagine paying $2,000 to do a swap on Trader Joe.
Oh God, we'd have no users. I like my first exploration into DeFi, right? It was with uh, a protocol called Y-Axis. It's like an auto compounder. Oh my God, I was paying like $100 to compound, probably like $50. It's just madness. It just makes no sense. But yeah, that's kind of what everyone started off with. Cool. So you guys like moved over to Arbitrum. I know another protocol that did that. Dopex, they were on Ethereum. They moved over to
Yep.
Arbitrum. Like, how has Arbitrum treated you? Uh,
I mean, the team, we've been like talking to the team for quite a long time, which is why we chose to launch there. I think there were so many options, but yet no one was really ready. And it was just this situation where, you know, we just wanted to launch wherever it would be cheaper. So there was sort of XDAI was an option for a while, and but it was kind of broken. It was kind of janky. We saw some competitors there, and it was kind of like messed up. We launched on Arbitrum, and it was good. But I think it's hard for it's like being the little brother um, of like a star athlete, right? And Ethereum is that like star athlete. And so I think it's hard for L2s to really make a lot of noise because it's sort of still tied, to ETH. Whereas like Avalanche is sort of a new athlete, a new star athlete that's like, hey, we're different, and come be early here, and that's a very different value prop than sort of being an extension on something already existing.
Got it. Yeah. And so I've seen something recently. Optimism. There's rumors in the wind that they're going to be like launching a token, going to start off like an L2 kind of season. What are your thoughts on Arbitrum token? Because I've seen that hotly debated for a
I mean, I
number of
think,
months now. When
yeah,
token, when token? And some people against it, like they don't need the token, it'll cannibalize ETH in some way. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know how a chain will survive without a token, like, to be totally frank. Um, and so I think it's sort of something that most groups will do. The question is like, does it make sense? And like, does it create, because it's pretty neutral. If you don't have a token, you're pretty neutral, but then you're pretty neutral, right? And it's not as exciting. But as soon as you have a token, it's like, ooh, this is now, I can like have ownership in this thing. This is exciting. And I think there's gonna be this split between these two L2s, and there's also Polygon, which already has a token, which you see sort of having more traction, right? But at the end of the day, it's like it's about the community, it's about the culture that's around your token. Um, that's what I think is valuable. But yeah, I do think it will happen.
Mm.
Be
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think without without the ecosystem token, that's often used as like a Kickstarter to really drive development, and also the community within the ecosystem, right? Often the incentive programs draw the eyes, bring people in, um, and then you hope that the protocols there have built solid dApps that keeps that user engagement going onwards. Post that kind of incentive drive that tokens are often used for. Um, in the chains. So yeah, maybe I have no doubt at some point we'll probably see one for Arbitrum. But let's talk about Avalanche. So Futureswap are coming to Avalanche. Do you just want to like share the date on that, and maybe just kind of like your thoughts around why you guys have chosen to deploy into Avalanche as like
Yeah,
your
definitely.
platform?
Definitely. So officially we'll launch next Tuesday. So really excited about that. So that's coming up. And yeah, we decided to launch on Avalanche just because we've seen. Look, I love Ethereum, but one thing that Avalanche does really well is it sort of um, creates this niche. I don't think that was being served by a lot of other protocols, and they've just executed really well. So for us, it was like, okay, of all the chains that are doing things right now, sort of what is capturing the most fun that I saw in like DeFi summer, and I think Avalanche has sort of done this pretty well. And I think the protocols like Trader Joe have also done this, where it's like, I think you guys are pushing sort of what's possible with your different farms, your lending, your swapping. You guys are just trying new and different things, and it's cool to see that, but also themed with this like very fun community aspect as well. And so you're kind of like, okay, these guys know how to have fun, and it's exciting, and it's really engaging, and it's sort of that is like the culture, that is like the feeling that I think you want when, especially when you're innovating on something like finance, is that you don't want to, it's super important to be as secure as possible, but also be flexible enough to not take yourself too seriously and just learn and build the best products possible. And I think that's sort of, you know, where we want to be, and we want to experiment. We want to have fun of building great products that people are like, I just love this thing. And they've experimented to create something super valuable for us. And yeah, so I think that was one of the main reasons, kind of seeing that sort of DNA was important for us to come check out. And as I watched it, it was kind of like, okay, let's do it over here.
Love the general kind of sentiment towards Avalanche, DeFi, and obviously Trader Joe as well. So yeah, thanks for that. Really appreciate that. I think that the DeFi ecosystem in Avalanche is great. What we're really seeing come through now is GameFi and like subnets are propelling that. But DeFi is such a large part of the Avalanche eco. Are we going to have another DeFi summer this year? Hopefully. But you touched on the fun vibes, which is great. That's something which we really try and carry throughout the entire platform and Trader Joe. Interesting to know that you guys kind of want to touch on that kind of fun vibe with leverage trading. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
like
I
it
just
should
think
be.
when I think about leverage trading, I'm like, stressful liquidations and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I
teach
think
them
what
right, right?
people don't realize about leverage trading is that it should also be used to manage risk, right? So people see it as like, just one side of the door, but there's this other side of the door, which is like you can actually hedge yourself and put yourself in a less risky position than without it. And I think just because like the concept of buying and selling is so straightforward that most like people can get it really quickly, right? Um, and I'm sure when you explain an AMM or Trader Joe to someone that doesn't know what an AMM is, it's like not such a hurdle that they walk away being like, I don't get it. I think it's like a simple enough concept where they like that. But as soon as you go into like the territory of leverage trading and you hear the horror stories of what has happened, people are like, oh God, I don't want to touch that at all. But what they don't realize is like, um, actually, like understanding this actually can benefit me quite a bit, not just from a pure like YOLO perspective, but from a perspective of like, hey, I'm holding on to this token. I'm in this farm, but if this token price like goes down, then that like 20% APY isn't as good because like the token price went down, and just like that thing I was going to make in a year is now sort of like I'm still at a loss even a year later. And so like how can I um, hedge that? How can I open up something that protects me from that price drop? And I think once people find out like, oh wow, I can lock in an APY even if the token price is like bouncing around, that's really cool. So there definitely is more risk because there's this chance where you get liquidated, but you get to determine how close to that line you want to be. And I think, from our perspective, we want to inform people how close they are to that line and what they can do about it as much as possible. Because if you don't know and all of a sudden you get liquidated and you lose, $100, it's like that sucked. But if you're well informed and like, oh, I need to just add like some collateral and I'm fine. Um, so yeah, I don't recommend YOLOing unless you're truly confident something is happening. I think that's more for the advanced traders, but definitely, you know, um, something like a 2x gives you a pretty wide buffer of the price bouncing around. Um, yeah, that's
Nice.
kind of
So we're kind of
right.
touching on like delta neutral strategies, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Blocking the yield. Yeah. So let's dig into that into a bit, but maybe let's just start high level for to kind of kick off. So like Futureswap is described as a decentralized, non-custodial, perpetual protocol.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if you just clearly explain what does it actually mean, and so any user listening in today, they kind of get an understanding at high level what FutureSwap is about, and then maybe you can just go into the various kind of products that are on
Yeah,
FutureSwap.
yeah, that makes sense. So one clarification is that initially we started out creating perpetuals, and perpetuals, just to give a really clear explanation, is um, essentially a leveraged trade, but the underlining is synthetic. So really what you're trading on is the price movement. And it really doesn't have any relation to the actual token. It's a derivative, so it doesn't really need the token of what you're trading on at all. It can be isolated for that. So look at something like DYDX or Perpetual Protocol. These things are you actually don't really need the token at all. You just need USDC and a strong price feed. So, just some Oracle, which is why you don't see perpetuals on a lot of the long tail tokens. Because if it's purely synthetic and the token isn't there, it's more manipulatable given that it's a small AMM pool, or it's a low liquidity market. So
And
that's
and and just to clarify as well, so when we say long tail, we're talking about a token like Joe, right? Um,
Yeah, we're talking about a token like
and
Joe. We're talking about, like, if you look at the top, 20 tokens on Trader Joe, I would consider those like sort of longer tail compared to something like Bitcoin, or the top on CoinGecko, right? So you've got this tail of tokens, all these tokens, and there's so many of them, and a lot of them don't have um, other avenues for doing anything other than just buying and selling, right? So you can't take leverage on them, you can't do a lot of things on them. So anyway, um, so we're not a perpetual. This is leverage trading, because at the end of the day, the tokens are actually there because we build on top of the spot market. So what Futureswap is it's leverage trading, um, by hooking into an AMM pool on any token pair and offering leverage on that. So think of it as like an AMM, but with leverage. And we work with AMMs to use their pairs as the main exchange. So all trades on Futureswap go through the AMM exchange pair. So for our pool that's coming up, the Joe USDC, we're using the Joe USDC pool. So think of it as an extension. That now this pair was there, and now that you can do leverage trading, people can come open up a 5x long, and that will essentially buy a bunch of Joe tokens um, through that pair, and that will actually affect the price, right? Which is really interesting because it also helps the LPs. So this is very different in that it's very integrated and very aligned with protocols and the token, because it's this nice feedback loop of the more trades that we get, the more the LPs are rewarded.
Nice. Okay, and then so kind of building off of that, you mentioned one of the pairs that will be offered. So as you build on Trader Joe, you integrate some of the pools. One of those will be Joe USDC. So
Mhm.
like what you touched on there is users can basically open a position on Joe USD, say they want to go short Joe USD, Joe USDC on
Mhm.
FutureSwap, but
Yeah,
they're currently in the Joe USDC farm on Trader
yeah,
Joe, earning that yield. So by opening a short position on your platform, but essentially being long or certainly collecting the yields on the Trader Joe platform, that's a delta neutral position, right? So if prices of, for example, Joe goes down, the short position will counterbalance that long position on the Trader Joe platform. So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
successfully
So,
movements out, right? Yeah, and then
yeah,
essentially so it's delta neutral because that yield from the farms being collected, and that's essentially that's all good, right?
right. Yeah, and so I think what this opens up is people being more comfortable opening up larger amounts on the farm, knowing that they can hedge risk. So I think a benefit we should see is more people entering the either the stake pool, or whatever that Joe is offering for a yield, because they can hedge the risk of the price going down. Because now they can be neutral to the price going down, because if the price goes down with the short on FutureSwap, they make money. So they don't lose the money, and they just lock in that APY. And we'll have a post sort of detailing more of this. And we're working on sort of a UI that makes this easier, sort of a one-click um, delta neutral thing. But it won't be there on day one, but it's definitely there's something excited about, and trying to create the best experience for.
Nice. Yeah, I think delta neutral strategies are heavily underutilized in the eco. I think there's potentially a couple of other providers here, not huge traction. So I think it's something which a lot of people that are active in DeFi would benefit from just in terms of understanding and certainly utilizing a platform like Futureswap um, to push that as an active strategy in their own DeFi portfolios. So yeah, we'll be sharing. On the Joe side, we'll 100% be sharing more kind of content around how to go delta neutral and why it's beneficial.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think that's
So
awesome. That
yeah.
would be really fun.
Um, so we kind of touched on obviously leverage options on your platform.
Hmm.
The ability to go delta neutral on pools that are integrated. It's so am I right in saying there's limit orders, stop losses as well?
Yeah, so something that we're doing is also we've baked in the limit orders and stop loss into the smart contracts. The UI currently doesn't support them, but we'll be releasing this feature as a fast follow just to make sure. This is probably the most requested feature from traders beyond just having exposure to more tokens. So this is something we're really excited for. We haven't had this feature before, and we want to make sure it's truly non-custodial and decentralized and sort of very resilient in any kind of situation in DeFi.
This is like the most requested feature in our Discord as well, limit orders. So,
Really?
yeah,
Oh wow.
everyone always pops in. Are you guys focusing on limit orders soon? So it's yeah,
Cool.
it will definitely be a well-received feature for sure.
Nice. No,
Just
that's
had
really good to hear.
yeah, um, just had a question from a community member, Eagle. So I think it's linking back to basically the kind of synthetic positions of of of, of what the perps are when they're opened. The question is, with this method of using an AMM, so Trader Joe, does it make it less kind of manipulatable in terms of the price?
Yeah, exactly. So one thing that we actually just posted a new some details on this launch on Avalanche. So definitely check out our Twitter to read more on this. And in that article, we cover some of this. But the main thing is like what you would see in a pure perpetual. Say let's just say perpetual project X launches a pair for Joe, right? Joe, like the Joe token, really only has like one or two main pools, right, that are really liquid. Um, and if someone were to accumulate a large bag of Joe, and there was a perpetual on this that was pulling the price from the Joe AMM, what they could do is do something like open a short on the perpetual. Now they have a short position on the perpetual. The LPs of that short are just USDC or something else. They're dependent on what that price feed is and how accurate it is. And if someone comes over and that has that short, they've been collecting Joe tokens for a while, knowing that they wanted to do this. They can basically sell a bunch of Joe token, right, which would push the price down. Now that price change is happening all in the spot market, but the price would update, right? And then that perpetual would respond by the price going down as well. And so their short would be very profitable. And they would close that short, and the profit of that short would be coming from the LPs of the perpetual system. This is sort of like dumping, basically manipulating the source price, which is the AMM, and then extracting value from the LPs of that perpetual system, right? So that's how perpetuals could be manipulated. And one reason you don't see more perpetual pairs of like lower long tail tokens, such as Joe. But with Futureswap, if someone tried doing that, they're essentially dumping on themselves because they would open a short on Joe, right, which would slightly move the price down, and then they dump, which is they sell Joe, which pushes their price down. Their short would be profitable, but as soon as they close it, all their profit came from them dumping. So it goes right back to where it started. So it's this really nice, resilient system where like the point of trying to manipulate the AMM to be profitable isn't really there in that it's economically secure, which is why it's pretty exciting to be using Futureswap.
Nice, that was really clear. Yeah, Eagle says that that was also clear. So thanks for kind of explaining that. So we kind of talked about trading strategies, leveraged, delta neutral positions. You guys will have limit orders, stop losses kind of on the UI integrated as a focus. So a great system for traders. So like, can we cover off some trading fees? Like, do you just want to give a rundown of what that looks like?
Yeah, definitely. And I also want to note like Futureswap is trying to be like one of the most composable protocols possible, and also like Trader Joe has been awesome to integrate with because it was so easy for us to like on testnet just like instantly integrate and it just works. And like that's the beauty of crypto, of these smart contracts, especially DeFi, is that someone can come over and just add new features to make your thing more valuable, and they flow through your system, and you get to capture some of that value. And that's like really that's what Futureswap is about enabling, is like creating more optionality for traders and protocols to run strategies that they couldn't before do, because like the underlying thing is just focused on this like these core things. And so we build on top of those core things to create more optionality. And then other protocols can come along and build on top of Futureswap. Like if you guys wanted to add limit and stop loss, like you could just integrate ours and it would just be there. And so I think it's this really awesome system of network effects where once something valuable comes along and builds on top of you, other protocols can sort of build on top of that. And it has these really amazing network effects. And, you know, at the end of the day, we call this a hyperstructure. And you can read, Google hyperstructures. I think it's the Zora team that posted an article. But it's this really interesting way of creating a protocol that's very open, low fee, and has these network effects where when people build on top of them, they become better. Just like when people open up a new pair on Trader Joe, it's sort of you bring in more people, it gets better.
This is what
So
DeFi
yeah,
is about, right? It's, protocols building on top of each other, like complementing each other, integrating each other in different ways,
yeah. So many miss
and
that though.
innovating off of those ideas. So it's, yeah.
So many miss that, and I think we kind of got stuck in that. We're trying to build just this like really crazy volume exchange. We were definitely in this mode of just trying to create this thing that did this, but it was isolated from everything else. And it's sort of like two paths you can go. You can sort of be isolated and create a ton of volume and all these things, but I think it's short lived because someone will just come around and copy that and lower the fees. This is what I think DYDX sort of looks like, is it's isolated from the rest of DeFi. And then you've got sort of these more slow moving things that it takes a little bit of time to build the foundation, but once they start going, like Joe, it's like they become so powerful and so useful and ambiguous to the rest of the ecosystem. So I think that's an important point to like note, that that's the path that we're going down. But to get back to fees, yeah. So we have a small fee, 3 bips for our LPs, because how Futureswap works is, for example, we look at the Joe USDC pool that's on Trader Joe, and then we require a little bit of liquidity of the same type, Joe USDC, in our system as well. So we do have pools, but we don't need it to be anywhere near the size of the main pool. And that's just used for the lending to do the leverage trade. So, someone comes in, they put down, 10 USDC as collateral. They say they want to go 4x. They get 40 USDC, and that 40 USDC is swapped through the Joe pool, and then they get $40 worth of Joe, and that's their leverage trade. And so the LPs there, they're actually at very low risk of impermanent loss because they're also delta neutral. And there's an article sort of detailing that. I can post this. So we need a little bit of liquidity, and so that's why we charge 3 bips. But it's pretty safe. Most of the fees actually go to, so 0.3% goes to Joe, because we're swapping through the main pool. So definitely the fees are slightly higher than what you would expect on other perpetuals or leverage trading, because we actually go through the pool. But our fees on Futureswap side is extremely low. Like we're 10x lower than the Joe fees. So yeah, that's kind of a high level of the fees. And those goes, most of the fees go to the Joe pool. So yeah.
Got it. And then, so someone's asked about the time fee, which is, it seems like it can be turned on via a governance vote. So, like,
Yeah.
is there a time fee active now, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah, right now we're not activating the time fee. We want to keep the fees on our side as low as possible, um, to make sure that we have the best experience possible. I think over time we can figure out what to do on that side, but the biggest thing that we're focused on right now is having as many pairs and creating the best experience possible. And fee generation is is something that is not the primary focus right now. It's more so like growth. So um, yeah.
Yeah, got it. So, and then you've also touched on, so pools. We talked about Joe USDC pool, which will be integrated. So, what other kind of pools are you kind of deploying with next week?
Yeah, I think we've been figuring out what other protocols that are listed on Joe that we wanna host. And I think at the end of the day, it's sort of what the community wants. So there's definitely top projects out there. We're excited to launch on, and it's definitely some people that you've featured and have worked with. So really excited. I mean, uh, Platypus is definitely up there on the list of something that would be really fun to list and even integrate with, because we can do any AMM, including a curve style AMM. So, leverage stables is interesting. But yeah, I think the immediate one is AVAX USDC. That'll be the largest pool in terms of liquidity. We try to focus on pools that are stable um, paired. So, like, the reason we chose Joe USDC is because it's USDC, and it's easier for users to open a position knowing that it's betting against the dollar. If it's like Joe AVAX, I think it's a little harder because the ratios are different. But we're working on making it so that it's pretty easy to view sort of those ratios in dollar terms and make it more comfortable, because so many of the pairs are AVAX um, back.
Got it. Okay. And then, so obviously your deployment next week onto Avalanche, it's not just a flat out kind of deployment of the existing version on Arbitrum. You're coming over with, am I right in saying it's a V4.1
Yeah,
on Avalanche? So
kind of ambiguous, but yeah, it is called V4.1.
nice.
And
Okay. I
just
mean,
to
most
just to touch,
most people are rolling out V2s at the moment, but you're on
I know
4.1,
we've
so
we've we've done
advanced.
a lot of work. Built a lot of these protocols, so we got pretty good at it. And just to touch on the last question, let us know what you guys want listed on the exchange. If there's a protocol that thinks they'd be a good fit, and they want to generate more trade volume on their pair, like, just let us know. We're very open to it. We've created a system where we can basically use Trader Joe's TWAP to create an oracle. So we're very flexible. Anything on Trader Joe is open to creating a pair on with FutureSwap. So just wanted to touch on that point.
Are there any like base requirements there that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think I would say the base requirements are they need enough liquidity. Like if it's basically how we scale is like if it's we try to go after something more than let's say 2 million in liquidity pool size, and then we haven't really tested anything below that, but we would start capping trade sizes and leverage because we wouldn't want whales or something just to like come in and slosh things around. So we sort of will have a limit on trade size in relation to how large the liquidity pool is in terms of value. And then we need, probably a minimum of like 100,000 in of combined tokens in our system to create a good trade experience. Because with 100,000, you can open up a $50,000 trade, either long or short. And what's nice is the liquidity in our system is recycled. So if someone opens a long for 25 and someone opens a short for 25, it can just be reused. So we don't need as much liquidity. The liquidity limits the maximum trade size in our system.
Got it. Okay, so really kind of like at least a base liquidity of about 2 million
Yeah,
liquidity pool.
yeah.
Okay,
For now.
for now, right. So V 4.1, perhaps you just want to kind of detail some of those kind of key changes or
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
so initially it was only Futureswap only worked on Uniswap v3, and this is because we were really interested in concentrated liquidity. Um, it's a really cool concept, and they had sort of native on-chain TWAPs, which were super helpful, along with Chainlink supported a lot of stuff as well. With this update, we're like, okay, let's do any AMM. So we've generalized it so that it'll work with anything, and that's why we're launching on Trader Joe as our first test outside of Uniswap v3, to sort of prove the model. And yeah, so we're really excited about that. But anything with a swap function, we can like hook into, which is really fun. Um, so yeah, so that's the swap adapter. So that's the core integration that we've updated. And then there's also token rewards. So protocols that are listed on FutureSwap can also permissionlessly say like, hey, I want users, just like they can incentivize liquidity by using the staking contract. With FutureSwap, they can incentivize trade volume. So the more trade volume someone does in a day, the more rewards they'll get. And any protocol can add their token to generate more trade volume, which is really cool because that trade volume, like 99% of it goes, or 90% of it goes to the LPs of the AMM pool, in this case, the Trader Joe pool. So it's a way of like giving APY and fees to liquidity providers through trading, which wasn't available before. It was like you could directly give it to them, but you couldn't give it like you couldn't generate fees for them. There was no incentive for that.
So so just touch on that. So like Joe USDC on
Yeah,
FutureSwap, we could incentivize additional Joe rewards for people that were trading through that pool on FutureSwap.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there'll be
yeah,
direct
absolutely.
rewards for those traders.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I mean, you could even say what type of trades you want. I want to incentivize longs, or I want to incentivize shorts, or I want to incentivize both. So you can be pretty specific with what you want to do, and we're planning on releasing that UI as we get more exchanges. But yeah, all that is there. Depends on how much people want to use it. We can do it very quickly. As like a partnership, but to do it permissionlessly, you need to create a UI for that.
Nice. So I can just directly and permissionlessly kind of incentivize people to open long positions on Joe via FutureSwap.
Yeah, if you wanted to.
Awesome. That's cool.
Um, and then another update is this Oracle adapter. So before we were just using Chainlink, which has been a really good partner, but Chainlink doesn't have a lot of the long tail tokens, and it's kind of hard to get listed on Chainlink, depending like if you're a smaller token, and it makes sense because these tokens are so volatile. It's it's just how it works. And so we use the Joe TWAP. So we're using all the trades that happen on that AMM. We basically are able to put that Oracle price or that TWAP price on chain and use that as liquidations. So we've sort of built the system for price feeds, which was definitely a feat. And then a redesign of our front end. We've been listening to traders quite a bit of what they want and making it more clear of like kind of what's going on. So we've overhauled the UI. So we'll be coming out with a brand new interface that our developers have been working super hard. Shout out to developers, super hard on doing.
Just doing
And
stuff.
yeah. So it's gonna be really amazing. And then
Sorry,
and,
that is deploying when you kind of land on Avalanche.
exactly. Yeah, it'll be a full
So the
release.
UI at the moment isn't the UI that will be present when you're on Avalanche.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it'll get better for
Yeah.
sure. So
I
stay
think it's
tuned.
quite nice at the moment. So like,
Well, it's gonna get
looking
even
forward.
better.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing this one.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. It just kind of lets people know where they are, I think, more clearly, and then from there we'll create more simplified views. You know, just to make it easier for users that don't need all the bells and whistles. And then another thing we've done is this multi-chain governance support. And so what this means is like previously, if a protocol wanted to launch on Avalanche or any other or most chains, and they're on Ethereum, someone had to basically like go and take those contracts and deploy them as a person. And this sort of like breaks DeFi, or it breaks governance in a way. And it's fine to do as a manual thing, but like it's sort of not sustainable. And so what we've done is we've been working with Seller to create a contract message bridge. And so what's cool is we can from Ethereum say, hey, we want to spawn a new exchange Futureswap exchange system on Trader Joe. And if this vote passes, it will all, in a decentralized way, um, just go do that. Like the contracts will transfer from Ethereum to Arbitrum, and it will launch this exchange, hooking into Trader Joe and spawning the first pool. All through on-chain activities. There's no humans in the loop. So this is the first time I think it's first protocol to do this, and we're really excited about this because that just like opens up possibilities of being able to do more sort of decentralized governance.
Nice. So I
And
mean,
I think I might have said Arbitrum. I meant Avalanche. Sorry about that.
that's okay. You're forgiven because obviously you're not live on Avalanche just yet, but you can't make that mistake from next week.
It's the A's. I mean, I modified my Moonbird to have the avalanche eyes, so I hope that's appreciated.
Oh my God, Moonbird. Nice. Cool. So what's coming up next? Obviously a lot on the plate in terms of this kind of enhanced version when it's deploying next week. Like, what is like next on the radar for Futureswap over the next sort of quarter?
Yeah, just launch as many pairs as we can. And so we have a list of pairs that we want to launch, but we want to listen to the community and take in their input and really be directed by that. They need to be liquid enough, but there's probably 10 pairs that we're looking at right now of 10 protocols on Avalanche that we're looking at right now to sort of figure out if we want to do that. So um, So that's a big thing. And then we've got this trading competition that will also be coming up, which will be really fun. Um, it'll be it'll be quite an event. So it's actually happening quite soon once we launch, and that's sort of all I'll give for now. But yeah, we're really excited for just generating as much hype for like how to use Futureswap and this trading competition and what we'll be dropping for them.
Nice. So
Everyone's invited.
the kind of, you want to listen to the community, will that be like actual kind of on-chain governance in terms of adding new pools, or is it literally just a case of, join the Discord and just throw in your suggestions? And is it kind of
It
open?
could be a mixture of both. I mean, we don't need, I mean, we just want to signal mostly. We want to listen to the signal of what people are wanting. Because at the end of the day, like, this is for them, right? This is for people to be like, hey, I'm really excited about this thing and I want to trade in this way. I want, to leverage long, treasure under the sea or something, or like whatever. And we just want to open this up to for traders. And if they have like farms and people want to do more advanced strategies like delta neutral or you know cash and carry, like whatever they want to do, we want to open this up so that like even yield farmers can have um, better opportunities at making safer yields. So it really depends on what the community wants. So yeah, join our Discord. Let us know what you'd want. We can do a couple polls, and then we'll have some on-chain voting. We can do snapshot or something else to sort of lock it in and launch it. And just to be clear, the goal of Futureswap. So we're doing this version, and we'll be iterating a lot on this version, making it better. But the next version is the goal is to which is we're already architecting is to make Futureswap completely permissionless, so that just like Joe, if someone wants to create a pool, they can. They don't need to interact with Futureswap. They can just do it, and you know we'll make it. We're making it permissionless so that people can just say, "I want this thing," and I don't need to ask Futureswap. It just works, because that's what like DeFi is all about. If you don't have this, like in my opinion, you're not really DeFi, and we're not at that point yet. But that's where we want to be, for sure.
Very true. Would this be version 4.2?
Exactly.
Nice.
We'll pick a name for that. I think that deserves a name. Blue, you can help find the name, I guess.
um, Lots of people are just putting the word super on the front of things to describe a next
Okay,
version. So why don't you just stick super version on the front or something?
super swap.
Yeah. You mentioned trading competition. Do you just want to share some details on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll leak some alpha. So what we want to really test is like how definitely learning Futureswap can be intimidating, I think, for a lot of people because they hear the word leverage and they're like, I'm not ready for that, which totally understand. So we just want to sort of give prizes and incentives and create kind of some fun NFT stuff around people who try it out. And it's not about how much money you make, or it kind of is, but it's not like for whales or anything like that. Like anyone can do it and win. It's just about getting users to check it out and potentially talk about the strategies and why they did what they did, and just learn. So I think it will be quite fun, and this is something we plan on doing sort of a week or two after we launch. So it'll be something coming up pretty quickly.
Nice. Looking forward to sort of collabing on the Joe side for that as well. So I've just had a couple of questions come through. So one of the community members at Eagle, so GMX, referencing another kind of leverage trading protocol in Avalanche, they have a mechanic to prevent scam wick liquidations. Does Futureswap have anything like that, or something similar, or does Futureswap need that?
Yeah, and just to kind of detail that a little bit, what GMX wants to protect is people coming in and positions start closing, and that starts pushing the price down. You can create these cascading liquidations. And so, yeah, so for Futureswap, this is sort of why we use a TWAP, and whereas like GMX is using the freshest price, right? And if I can manipulate the freshest price, you could sort of, these liquidations can occur. Um, and so by using TWAP, it sort of gives more time to open up. Like, is this actually happening? The mechanism that Futureswap has is it takes time. Like the longer the amount of time someone can manipulate the MM, the more it costs. So if I go to the AVAX USDC pool and start pumping the price, like it costs me some amount to do it for like 1 second, right? But to do it for like an hour or to do it for like 15 minutes, it's insanely expensive. It gets like, I don't know if it's exponentially expensive, but it gets like really crazy expensive. And I think Euler protocol has sort of written a really good thread about this if you want to check out that project, where basically the cost of attacking the AMM oracle and how expensive that can be. So that's definitely something that we're iterating on, and we think we have a pretty good handle on, and is also why sort of we take time to make sure we pick the right pool, and then capping the amount of leverage and trade size to safely sort of build up to something that we think is safe. But yeah, good call. I think that's probably the most um, thought about security aspect of sort of how do liquidations work, and how are they affected, and are there mechanisms around sort of protecting users from it. But it's a tricky problem because you don't really know if this is like a true dump or if someone's manipulating it to be a fake out. And the biggest indicator is like time. Is if it's truly dumping, then, or it's mooning, then you'll see it over time. But if it's this like quick blip, then it's like, is that real? Um, and can you just filter that out?
Nice. Yeah, good question. There's another question as well. So, kind of linking into Futureswap's kind of aim to be, totally permissionless in terms of the pools. So, for the pool aspect to kind of be permissionless, would it still be gated by some level of kind of, um, requirements in terms of metrics such as like liquidity volume and trade size, or anything like that? How would the permission kind of pools work if you
The
still?
only thing that really prevent permissionless pools is an oracle price. Um,
So what,
like,
like, it has to have like a chain link price feed set up?
well, it did before. Now with this new version of FutureSwap, it doesn't, but it still requires um, some work to get that feed going just from our side. So, something cool about Uniswap v3 is they have this on-chain price mechanism, and I think now some other protocols have released the code for this. So if one day Trader Joe decides to add this little bit of code, it basically, every trade that happens creates this on-chain price feed, and then that's something that is just there, and that means like people can permissionlessly create oracles. But without that, it takes another step, which is sort of what this version has to do, to create that oracle. It's not a lot of work; it's a little bit of work, but it does require some deployment, some very easy deployment, or at least pointing at this thing. So really, that's what caps it. And so we'll see how things go. And I think if things go really well, like maybe there could be a conversation about how we get this in. But yeah, we're also thinking about ideas of how to not have protocols have to update. Like it would suck for Trader Joe to have to update their code for us, and we don't want to. That's a big ask. So that's sort of how we're thinking about v4.2.
Oh, there you go. It is 4.2.
Oh, sorry, Super Futureswap. Yeah, there we go.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, I don't know if there's anything perhaps else you kind of want to share with the audience today.
No, this has been great. Blue, thank you so much for hosting us. And just to make sure people know, we have a Discord. Check out our Twitter, Futureswap X on Twitter, futureswap.com, the site. And yeah, we just hope to collab as much as possible. And we've got some juicy memes to uh, 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 with Trader Joe that we're excited to start showing as we get closer to launch. And we really excited just to hear from the Trader Joe community of what they think. So keep us posted.
Nice. Well, we're all about the memes at Joe. Yeah, I've just shared your the Discord server invite in the partner channel, just in case anyone wants to, join immediately. I guess just to touch on as well, next week we'll be hosting a double rewards farm for the Futureswap token as well, just to help
Yeah.
bootstrap liquidity and awareness for your deployment on Avalanche. So that's kind of like the next thing to look forward to in terms of our collab.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. And then the last thing is, yeah, so we'll also have trade incentives and LP incentives, but mostly trade incentives. I think like 90% of the incentives will be on trading. So the more you trade, more future swap tokens you'll get, and you'll get those pretty immediately. Before we had sort of vesting lockups, and now it's going to be immediate. So you can, instantly start LPing in that farm. So it should be quite fun.
Awesome. Okay. I mean, last call for anyone. If they have any questions, put your hand up. We can bring you on the stage, or you can put a question in the partners channel. No, I think that's it. Well,
That's a
thanks again,
wrap.
Eric. It's been great to talk to you.
Thanks a lot, Blue.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks everyone for tuning in as well.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.